Okay, I met Andrew, I believe it was in 2002. We were in prison together. And I was a former member of the Vice Lords. And so what my experience was I was a gang member, and I was involved in some pretty bad gang fights inside of the prison. And I went from a situation of wanting to come out of the gang, and I wanted to give my life to God. So Andrew was one of the guys that was going to the church services and involved with the chaplain and many other services that are inside of the prison. So I wanted to get involved, and I met Andrew and some more gentlemen like himself, and we began getting involved in programs to not only change our lives, but even in prison to begin changing the lives of other men. And like our goals were to get men out of the gangs and get them on the path to being fathers. And so many of us, like myself, I was supposed to be a college student. And the years that I should have been in college, I was in prison because of one bad decision. So, you know, our whole mission and our goal is to urge young people that the years and the time that they have now is important, and decision making is so key. And, you know, one bad decision will follow you for the rest of your life. Teenagers, we used to perform. I had a group called the Tron Rockers, and we were a breakdance group, and we would travel around the city doing different talent shows. One thing, he never told us that he was in any kind of trouble. He would come to the service, and it was a close circle of friends that we had, and he would come to the church, and we would sing, and then when we would go on and he would go about his way, we never knew he was in trouble until one day. I believe it was his sister told us that Andy was in jail. I believe it was the second parole denial that Andy had received, and he was a little bit disheartened. And I think what happened was somebody from the family of the victim said something to him. I think that kind of sparked it for him. Said something like, well, I could see if you were making wise choices with your time that you were in prison, maybe then we could see, you being paroled or getting back out on the street. And so one night Andy called, and he just started talking to me, and he just said the name. Man, I'm in here staining in brains. I'm telling everybody that I can, to stay out of trouble, to stay positive, to be wise about what they do. And so he called me, and he kind of read down everything that he wanted to do. And so he knew that I was a graphic artist. And so he said, man, what I want you to do is develop a logo for me, stationery, just everything. And I'm gonna present it in my next parole hearing. He said, because I want to be a difference maker when I get out.
Well, I'm one of the, I guess you can say, spokesman of Stain Your Brain. I basically tell the young people what I've been through and ways for them not to go through what I've been through. I met Andy while we was incarcerated. We had formed a choir there in prison, and he was one of the lead singers. And I met him through that, and during that time we became great friends. And he was talking about starting this organization dealing with the youth, but he didn't know what he was going to call it at the time. And he said God gave him the name for Stain Your Brain. So he asked me that I wanted to be a part of it, and I told him, yeah, that I did want to be a part of anything that had to do with the youth.
I met Andrew Collins in 1997 there at Fort Pillow prison there in Henning, Tennessee. I was serving time. I was serving a 20-year sentence, and Andrew, he was also incarcerated. And we actually met in church there at the prison, and we became friends. And from 1996 all the way to 2003, while I was there incarcerated, I thank God for him putting this program or this ministry on Andrew's heart, because I see the lives that is impacted, and I see the kids that we're reaching, and the change that's actually taking place in the lives of the young people, the young men and women that we minister to and that we talk to. I tell people everywhere I go that God will take the rejected and make them become the respected. The ones that the world has labeled never do anything, never be nothing, and never go anywhere. Those are the ones that God will actually use and make something great out of.
The concept of staying your brain basically developed when I was incarcerated and I really couldn't sleep one night, and I just came from a church service that the volunteers came in. I think that might have been the night that he preached. And I kept on asking God, why am I here for something I didn't do? And I kept on asking. But that particular night he said, as long as I got breath in your body, I want you to try to keep as many kids and youth from making the same mistake that you made. So why me? I kept asking God, why me? I'm not educated enough. I don't talk the proper words. I'm still using broken English. He said, that's what they need. That's what I want you to do. Just meet them right where they are. I said, okay, God. But I need a name for it. I need to know what you want me to call it. He said, just do what you have to do to leave a stain in the grain.
Wherever we need it, wherever people have youth that's troubled, that need some guidance, need some support, need some structure in their life, we want to be there for them. You know, we want to try to help redirect them, and that's one of the things that I thank God for Andrew, because as he stated, while he was still in prison, he had this on his heart. And I was coming in and he stopped me one day and said, man, I was out, but I was coming back in as a volunteer. And he stated, I want you to help me with my program. And I said, when you get out, just call me. We're going to connect and do what we got to do to see it happen.
Andrew, he grew up just like any other American child. You know, he had two parents, and he, as a child, was a very aggressive child. He was very aggressive and very likable by the neighborhood. He was likable with the school. They enjoyed having him around, primarily because he was popular and energetic, singing, dancing, and all of that good stuff growing up. So he was very energetic and popular with that area. But as he got older and let's say junior high, you know, there was problems at home. I have always been a mom from day one for working in the workforce. I had to work. His dad was gone all the time. He worked. And so therefore there was little time to really see him like I needed to. But he was always with family, you know, and I thank God for the family. Going on into his teens, you know, and his dad didn't really get along too good. That made it even more worse. But to go on, you know, he was going through, he had to go through the ordeal of a divorce, and that's what I meant about things kind of got a little bit worse. I just didn't know what he was doing, but by the same token, he seemed to be hanging in there. I couldn't get him, he wasn't staying in school, you know, and when he was in school, there was problems, and one thing led to another in a negative type of way. Not so much, once he got into trouble, he was labeled. Let me just put it that way. So by the time division came, where I left him with his dad, because I had two and I could only have one, and left him with the dad because he was the oldest. And that's where communication came in. I just didn't really know what was going on until it happened. And when it did hit, it happened. It hit like a blow. It hit like a rock that hit the ground. You know, it's there. And all his rearing, he'd been in the church because I put him in the church. I put him in the church for the simple reason that there was division between me and his dad. And I felt like the church would fill in the gaps while I wasn't with him, with the right and wrong, and try to keep him busy, you know. But even so, as a parent, I must admit, I wasn't always there simply because of the workforce. And back there, 35 years ago, it wasn't about taking off. You could not. You had to be there or you get fired in the job, in the work field. So that was always a stress, the threat of against me if I'm not on the job. And at the same token, I'm praying, oh, don't let him get in trouble because I don't know what he's doing. So when he went to prison, and it was a very, very hard moment for him as well as myself and his family. It hit, it hurt. There was tears, there was it was always tears because he was brought up to do the right thing. Even if I was not present, he knew the right thing. So we just went through the transition. He was in prison. We let him know we loved him and go visit him the best that I could. I think he knows that. I tried to make every weekend. It just kind of like weirded me down, but I was strong against letting him know that I was there for him, you know. And his daddy had to work, and his daddy could come certain times. But I really tried to fill in the gap every Saturday. I was working very, very hard. So in prisons, he went through the transition of the prison, and when paroled, and that's years, as we know, you know, years after, what, 10, 17? I mean, before parole was on that.
The first one was in 2000.
Yeah, well, the first time I can't even remember, but the second one was a great impact to me because he's in the opposite, the victims, the entire family was there. And when I seen him, it still hit me. It hit me, it hurt me because it could have been turned around. It could have been my son, but it was this lady's son. And it hit me with, you know, tears. It still does if I think about it. To see that family, you know, fighting for someone that died, even though he wasn't involved with the direct blow of killing, he was there. So when I spoke as a mother, and I just told him that none of us can watch our children 100%. But if we just try to do the best we can from a child, and he knows, you know, he was a child, you know, he was taught right from wrong. That's all I know. He was taught right from wrong. He agreed. He knows God as well as the devil, what the devil can do. But I said, we must pray for our kids. We must remember that children are influenced, more so by their peers, the relationship they're in. There's more going on now than it did in his time, before it was in my time. And so we just have to do the best we can to let you know that all children are good children. It's what they influence with, what they're around, how powerful things can influence their life. They think they're doing the right thing, you know? And most of all, I wanted that mother to know. I think I understand. Whatever way the parole goes, I understand. I'm still gonna love my son and do what I can. I'm still gonna be there for him. He just needs a chance. He's been in here 13 years. And with the parole, you know, I just left it like that. And I was really talking to that family. The parole board was there, but I really was looking at that mother because her son was gone. And so he has an opportunity. And I thank God for it, and I pray that it's his time. Not my time. It's his time. And that's my boy.